Good morning, good evening, good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to Emergency Management Associates. We're coming to you from the Area Command, 392 miles west of Kitty Hawk Beach, North Carolina. Let me adjust this webcam just a little bit. I'm sorry it's playing games here. There we go. I'm back. How about that, guys? We're here. We appreciate all of you who are joining us here. We're coming to you from the Area Command, 392 miles west of Kitty Hawk Beach, North Carolina. As we've been going through here, we're not going to do this salute to the United States of America by the singing of the national anthem because YouTube still wants to demonetize this channel when I use that video, so we're not going to do that, at least for the time being. I want to show you a card from S-Nort. S-Nort sent us this card. We picked it up at the post office on Saturday. It's a beautiful card. Okay, that card was a painting. Okay, after a career in tropical medicine with Walter Reed Army Medical Center, Larry K. Martin pursued his lifelong dream of painting wildlife art. Since 1976, more than 250 of his paintings have been issued in print editions. Unreal. Unreal. I want to thank S-Nort very gratefully for this card and also donation to our program. Dear Ron and Carol, sending you your donation towards your computer. You should save it and continue to concentrate on these memories. I've collected as a child. Let's see. All of a sudden it became hard to read here. I was already reading. It's hard to read. Anyway, we want to thank S-Nort for this and a donation towards getting a new computer sometime later this year. We appreciate everybody who sends these cards and letters to help support this program. I'm very grateful for that. Now, I want to start this program by talking about what has happened over in Kentucky. Okay, this is a report from WDRB in Kentucky.
Toll is rising from weekend flooding in Kentucky.
Now up to 11 people as search and rescue efforts continue.
Hundreds of roads remain closed across the state and thousands are still without power. Governor Andy Beshear gave an update this morning from the Emergency Operations Center in Frankfort. He says in some parts of the state, people are still in danger and crews are still in the search and rescue phase. On top of this flooding, Kentucky is expecting more snow later this week. Beshear says it's only going to complicate things.
What this means is water that's out there, we still have a lot, can freeze. We're going to see black ice in different places during both the days and the nights at how cold it's going to get.
The Team Kentucky Storm Relief Fund is set up online for donations. Beshear says the first use of this kind of funding is to help families pay for funerals. Toll is rising from weekend.
Okay, as she said, that funding that Kentucky's is trying to raise money for is going to be based on funerals for the people in Kentucky that have lost their lives. 11 people have died. Huge extreme flooding all throughout Kentucky, literally. Okay? In the backcountry in East Kentucky especially. Now, I've been there. We conducted a disaster drill in Kentucky many years ago. I love Kentucky. Okay? But I monitored this briefing by Governor Andy Beshear earlier today, and he was very serious. He was downhearted because of the number of people that have died. Now, he also wanted us to tell you this, okay? He wanted to talk to us about people that try to cross roadways that are flooded. We've talked about this before many, many times throughout this program about people trying to cross roadways that are flooded. Don't do it. Don't do it. There is a National Guard high axle vehicle that's stuck in the flooded roadway. The National Guard, with these great big tall vehicles, thought it could cross the flooded roadway, and it got stuck in the roadway trying to help rescue people. Don't do it. If the National Guard vehicles are there getting stuck, don't do it. Okay? Do not cross a flooded roadway if you want to continue living. Don't go beyond and around barricades. If there's a roadway barricaded, or if there is even water on the roadway, don't cross it. Okay? Governor Andy Beshear today said the death toll from the weekend's torrential rainfall has reached 11 after the death of a man in Hardin County, another one in Floyd County. Parts of Kentucky and Tennessee received up to 6 inches of rain during the weekend storms. We got rain here also in Morganton, over in western North Carolina as well, and snow. Andy Beshear said Sunday that there have been around 1,000 rescues on Sunday due to flooding since storms that hit Kentucky, one of the most serious weather events the state has ever dealt with. All of Kentucky is still standing water in different areas. He wants to thank everybody who's rendered aid. They've had people from North Carolina, they've had people from Tennessee and Indiana sending emergency crews. Indiana sent rescue crews to help rescue people. Rescue 1 and Rescue 2 from Indiana have showed up. Governor Beshear said he's very thankful for everybody, and he's asking everyone to be very careful. A mother and her 7-year-old child were killed in Hart County when the car they were in was swept away by floodwaters near Interstate 65. A car going down an interstate that was flooded was swept away with a little baby and her mother there. Unreal. Unreal. Now, the two that were swept away Saturday night in Bonneville County in southeastern Kentucky, a 73-year-old man was found dead in floodwaters in Clay County. In Hardin County, the coroner's office said Thomas Oakes, a 65-year-old man from Elizabethtown, died Sunday. Coroner Pat Elmore was called to the 2900 block of Gilead Church Road in Glendale, Kentucky, on a report that the car drove through water and got stalled. Elmore said Oakes got out of the car, but EMS was unable to revive him. His official cause of death is pending an autopsy, but Elmore said the preliminary findings suggest that he drowned. The confirmed fatalities statewide for Kentucky, many involving flood-related issues, include 1 man in Hart County, 3 men in Pike County, 1 woman in Hart County, 1 child, 7-year-old in Hart County, that was a mother and the small child, dead as a result of trying to cross a highway that was flooded, swept away. 1 woman in Washington County, 1 man in Clay County, 1 person in Nelson County, 1 man in Floyd County, 1 man in Hardin County. Governor Beshear preemptively declared a state of emergency in Kentucky ahead of the storms, where flash flooding was expected into Sunday, and President Trump has approved his request for disaster relief funding. State officials and local police are encouraging people to stay off the roads. Stay off the roads, because on top of the flooding, Kentucky is also expecting more snow later this week, which Beshear said is only going to complicate things. Water is out there. We still have a lot that can freeze. If there's any kind of water at all on the roadways, with a sheer drop in temperatures, that water is going to freeze and turn into black ice. We're going to be in trouble. We're going to see black ice in different places during both days and nights for the next 2 nights. And how cold it's going to get, we don't know, but it's going to get cold. The Kentucky National Guard has 175 soldiers and airmen from Indiana and Tennessee also active responding to the ongoing emergency in at least 16 counties. Now, he said more than 14,000 Kentuckians remain without power this morning. 14,000 Kentuckians remain without power this morning, and it's cold. It's very cold. So Governor Beshear is asking people to stay home. Stay home unless you absolutely have to leave. And then be very careful. Do not cross any flooded roadways at all. It's not worth it. It is not worth it. Okay? Does anybody have any questions for me in regards to these bad situations in Kentucky? Renee Steffi's here in the chat. She says 6 inches of fast-moving floodwater can stall a car. 6 inches. 12 inches can carry away vehicles. 12 inches of rain can carry away you. Fast-moving floodwaters on the ground can carry away persons. I've seen it. As a former police officer, I'm asking everybody to be very aware of this. Okay? Be very aware of it. Over here in the East Coast, today it was a fairly warm day at 50 degrees, but this morning it started off at 33. It was very cold. Now, we may still get some snow during the next couple days. In Kentucky, they will get some snow. Kentucky and Tennessee will get some snow, and that snow is moving east and north. By midweek, we are expecting a nor'easter on the northeast coast of the United States up into Canada. Really bad temperatures. Really bad temperatures. Joe Shinpaw says our temperatures start dropping tomorrow morning. 4 to 8 inches of snow being called for. It's the ice he doesn't like. Unreal. I don't blame you. I don't like the ice either. The snow is coming. Berlinda Mustafa is saying you see what is under or on the edge of the water. Don't go there. I agree, Berlinda. I agree. It's going to be bad up and down the East Coast. I'm telling you right now. Canada and the United States, it's going to be very bad. Okay? Rebecca the Explorer says Wednesday snow forecast from North Carolina, and I'll be honest with you. This morning, we had a time after 9:30 this morning, they said snow flurries were going to happen here in Morganton. That was a weather forecast early this morning. It was going to happen. So guys, it's not over. It's not over at all. Now, do we have any questions for me? I'm more than happy to answer any questions here. John Francis said he heard about the Delta flight in Toronto. Let's talk about that. This is a Delta flight out of Minneapolis, Minnesota that landed in Toronto, Canada today. The wings sheared off the plane and the plane landed on its roof. The plane landed on its roof. Unreal. Absolutely unreal. A Delta Airlines commuter plane arrived from Minneapolis, crashed at Toronto's Pearson Airport. The crash involved a Delta Airlines CRJ-900. This is a second CRJ-900 in the past 2 weeks. The last one was over at Reagan International Airport, and a helicopter, military helicopter, crashed into that. This crash today took place when the aircraft was landing. 80 people were on board at the time and all immediately evacuated. Up to 8 people were injured, according to paramedics. The Federal Aviation Administration said the flight was operated by Endeavor Air for United. The aircraft is upside down and burning, according to the helicopter pilot who was on the scene. He said the medical helicopter he was in the area offered to help after Delta Airlines plane crashed on the runway at Toronto International Airport. According to Air Traffic Controller audio, he got permission from the OCC Operations Control Center to land at the north end and assist with this crash if needed. The pilot then asked for more details about the crash. The workers in the control tower gave specifics about the location of the crash and the type of plane, as heard on the audio. Why Flight 1 Medevac? Just so you are aware, there are people outside walking around the aircraft. Yeah, we got it. The aircraft is upside down and burning. That's the helicopter pilot. Initial reports are there are no fatalities. Several passengers with injuries were transported to area hospitals. The first responders' primary focus was taking care of those that were impacted. It is not yet clear how badly the passengers and crew might be. And while it is not yet known if weather played a role in the crash, I want to give you this information. This incident happened as extreme cold and wintering conditions unfolded across the northern tier of the U.S. and in Canada. Winds were gusting at 40 miles per hour at the time of the crash. We have reports from the FAA and also the Canadian Aviation Administration saying that weather did play a role and that 40 mile per hour gust of wind may have flipped the plane. Okay? No snow was falling at the time, but the gusty winds were blowing around the more than 8 inches of snow that were already on the ground that fell at the airport over the weekend. Departures and arrivals have resumed this afternoon at Toronto Pearson as of 5 p.m. All 76 passengers and 4 crew members from Delta Flight 4819 were accounted for. A number of passengers were taken to local hospitals, and the airport staff are supporting families of passengers and arrivals. Okay? The National Transportation Safety Board from the United States and also the National Transportation Safety Board from Canada are investigating this incident and will continue to investigate until they come up with a firm conclusion exactly how this happened. Okay? Again, we believe weather is a factor in this crash. Okay? I'm showing you pictures of this aircraft on its back. It's a very sad thing here, guys. And this final picture I'm going to show you is a picture of where Toronto International Airport is. Right there. John Francis says, weather conditions terrible. I agree. Absolutely agree. Aubrey says, any crash you can walk away from is good. I agree on that as well. But how would you like to be in an aircraft landing on the ground and all of a sudden your aircraft flips over? Your aircraft flips over. And you're hanging in the seat by the seat belt that's you've fastened yourself to before you even took off. Unreal. Unreal. This is where Toronto International Airport is, and this is what happened. Now, I don't expect to see too many more pictures from Toronto from this crash. The National Transportation Safety Board is leading a team of investigators here in the United States over to Canada to assist the Transportation Safety Board of Canada with the investigations of this Delta Airlines plane that crashed on landing in Toronto. The agency said per the International Civil Aviation Organization's Annex 13, any information about the investigation will be released by the Transportation Safety Board of Canada. Okay? According to Transportation Secretary Sean Duffy, federal aviation investigators are on the way to Toronto. The Secretary has been in touch with his counterpart in Canada to offer assistance. At least 15 people, including a child, were injured in the crash in Toronto. 2 people are in critical condition, but none of the injuries are considered life-threatening. There are no deaths, and all crew and passengers have been accounted for. According to Flight Radar, as of 4:15 p.m. local time in Toronto this afternoon, 217 people 217 people boy, am I screwing up. 237 flights, 237 flights have been canceled at Toronto Pearson International Airport. It was closed. As of 4:15 p.m., it's been reopened. Okay? Now, as of 6:30 p.m., just about a little over a half hour ago, they were supposed to start a media briefing then, and I still don't see that media briefing being taken right now. And if that happens, I may show you that media briefing live. Now, to sum up what's happened during the past 2 weeks in aviation, 1 person has died and 4 others were injured after a plane hit another on the ground near Scottsdale Airport in Arizona on Monday. The crash off the runway was reported at 2:39 p.m. and first responders found 1 person, the pilot, 67 years old, dead on arrival. The co-pilot and 2 other passengers on board survived that accident in Scottsdale. By the way, that plane was owned by a member of Motley Crue, but just for kicks and giggles, I thought I'd throw that in there. 2 people were killed when a single-engine plane crashed shortly after takeoff over the weekend from a small airport east of Atlanta. Last week, 2 crew members ejected from a Navy jet after it crashed over in the San Diego harbor, and they were quickly rescued by a sport fishing boat from Islandia Sport Fishing in San Diego. Unreal. That many plane crashes in as many days. Sad. Now, I want to talk about something else here before we talk about Santorini. As you know, there have been a lot of earthquakes around Santorini, and I want to get into depth as to why. Okay? But before we get into that, okay, I want to show you what's going on. Okay? This is a DOGE report. Okay? Elon Musk DOGE report. I want to show you this because I think it's important. Everyone deserves to know what's going on.
Heard about the amount of fraud that Elon Musk and DOGE have found inside the Social Security. By the way, Social Security is not going bankrupt because of any reason except for fraud. Period. DOGE found about 25 million Americans over the age of 100 that are receiving Social Security checks. 25 million Americans over the age of 100. But that's not all. They've identified about 38 million Americans from 0 to 9 years old. How is somebody 0 to 9 years old getting Social Security payments? How's that even happening? How about this one? Ages 10 to 19, 44 million Americans. Ages 20 to 29, 47 million Americans. Ages 30 to 39, 52 million Americans. We're running out of millions here, folks. And that's total in the United States, let alone people on Social Security. Ages 50 to 59, 45 million Americans. Ages 60 to 69, 46 million Americans. And when I said that they've discovered 25 million people or so above the age of 100, that includes people above the age of 200. They found 1,039 people getting Social Security that are over the age of 200. Do you know anybody 200 years of age? I don't. They found 1.3 million Americans getting Social Security, or that Social Security checks are at least being issued to, over the age of 150. Do you know anybody 150 years old? Elon Musk said there must be vampires collecting Social Security. This is just the tip of the iceberg. And, to top it all off, after the initial visit by DOGE to IRS, Donald Trump has raised the number of people that he's going to fire at the IRS from 9,000 to 15,000. And they're just getting started. Are you going to file taxes anymore after seeing all of this? I'm not advising you not to file taxes, but I'm giving it a second thought. How about you? This is ridiculous. Absolutely ridiculous. And I want them to follow the money and indict, arrest, and sentence people who are in on this entire money laundering scam.
That's it. 250 million Americans receiving Social Security over the age of 100. And a lot of them over age 200. Now, before this all happened, the Biden administration was saying by 2035, the Social Security Administration would be going belly up, not having any more money. Well, guess what? President Trump has been solving some of the problems. He's found a lot of money. He's found a lot of fraud. When President Trump told Elon Musk to go over to Social Security at the end of last week, President Trump knew there was going to be some problems. Yes, guess what? He's found problems, hasn't he? Everywhere where President Trump has asked DOGE to go, they found millions in fraud. Millions of dollars in fraud. This is nuts. This is insane. Totally insane, everybody. We have people here on President's Day. Yes, this is President's Day here in the United States. We've had people protesting in Washington, D.C. We've had people protesting in New York. We've had people protesting over in Arizona, across this country, saying that President Trump is a bastard. Yeah, because he's firing people. The people he's firing are buttheads. The people he is firing are buttheads. They should never have been allowed to do the things they've been doing. And yet, this is exactly what's been going on. This is exactly what's been going on. And the United States government has allowed it to happen. How long has it been going on? Years. 10, 15, 20, 50 years? Yeah. Unreal. And so far, President Trump has gone from one agency to the next. And now, President Trump has asked Elon Musk and his people to go over to IRS. And originally, like he said, they were going to fire 5,000 people. Because what he's already found. President Trump today said he was going to fire 19,000 people at the IRS. Unreal. Unreal. And yet these protesters are out protesting, saying, "Oh, you put us on the street. I'm so mad. You're putting," and other people say, "You're putting my friends out on the street." Really? Friends that were committing fraud? The people over at USAID, fraud. I showed you the fraud the other day. Millions and billions of dollars being wasted. And if you didn't know this already, the Biden administration was getting money from USAID to campaign against Trump. Yes, to campaign against Trump. They were getting money from them to go after Trump. They spent money over in New York City to go after Trump. And guess what? If you didn't hear the story last week, our great Attorney General Pam Bondi has now put up information saying that we have gone after, the United States government has gone after the Attorney General. Yeah, the Attorney General of New York, and the Governor of New York, and the DMV Chairman of New York, because they are allowing this to happen. They're allowing this to happen. And they also found that FEMA, on Thursday, DOGE found that FEMA gave $250 million to New York City Hotel to house immigrants. $250 million come from FEMA. Guess what? DOGE said that they were going to attempt to recover that money. They have. They have recovered the money. They're going to continue doing that wherever they find it. And something else. Remember all the money that Biden has sent to Ukraine, to Zelensky? When Vice President J.D. Vance was in Germany this weekend, he met with Zelensky and other European leaders. Zelensky said he is missing $100 billion. Ukraine President Zelensky said he is missing $100 billion. I will bet you that they've stopped payment on some of that money that Biden sent over. $100 billion there and billions of other dollars elsewhere. It's incredible. It's absolutely incredible what the Biden administration and these other people, including Obama, have done. Yes, Obama was in on it too. They've got Obama's hands in it as well, with USAID. Okay? I told you last week that Chelsea Clinton's wedding had been financed by USAID. Millions of dollars to her wedding. Chelsea Clinton. Why is our government paying for the Clintons' wedding? Unreal. Unreal. And yet, the people are out on the street bellyaching about President Trump misusing his power on President's Day. They're calling for President Trump to be impeached and taken down, and making sure other presidents in the future don't have presidential power. They're saying they want a president, not a king. That's what they're saying. They want a president, not a king. Rebecca says, wasn't one of the slogans that Biden had, Build Back Better? Oh, yeah. Rebecca says here in the chat, I think they meant hide it better. Exactly. George Rashad, my buddy George Rashad in California says, I want a refund. I agree. So do I. I want many refunds. Stupid Democrats. They just think they can get away with murder, and they've done that too. Unreal. And Bella Virgo says, loads of houses are up for sale in D.C. Yes. Some 17,000 houses in D.C. are now up for sale. Probably former federal employees that can no longer afford to live in D.C. Unreal. Anyway, I want to go over to Santorini over in Greece. Santorini, as you know, is an island over in the Doukhanies Islands between mainland Greece and Turkey. The Greek government's chief seismologist said that the frequency of earthquakes affecting Santorini and nearby islands has eased in recent days. Let me bring up a map of the USGS. Okay? I want you to see what's actually happening. Let me take down my webcam and my banner here. I want you to see this map. Now, when you see this map, you're going to see that there are not as many earthquakes as you would normally see here. They're showing 3. There are dozens of earthquakes here. Dozens of earthquakes here. We're showing a 5.0 earthquake that happened earlier today. 7:49 a.m. this morning. A large 5.0 earthquake hit here. A 4.3 earthquake here. Here's another 4.3 earthquake in the area around Santorini. I'm going to zoom in here. Right here. This is the island of Santorini right here. Okay? Right over here in the middle is the summit of the volcano. The summit of the volcano here. Long time ago, 1690 I believe it was, the volcano erupted and blew out the island. What happened over in Hawaii, not Hawaii, but Tonga. Tonga volcano, just 2 years ago, erupted. Took out the island that it was on, and now all you see here is just like this. One of the largest volcanic eruptions in history. Hungatunga volcano in Tonga. Unreal. But here in the Doukhanies Islands we have earthquakes. Now in the past, USGS and others were saying that these were earthquakes, not anything to do with magma. Guess what? They lied to the Greek people. They lied to us and everybody around the world. Yes, the earthquakes have eased from what they have been. And in a minute I'm going to get my other device and show you the earthquakes that have actually occurred over there in the Doukhanies Islands. But the outlook for continued tremors in the coming weeks remains uncertain. Why? Unfortunately, for now, we must wait. These seismic sequences do not end quickly. They follow their own timeline. Hopefully, this particular sequence will surprise us in a positive way and resolve itself sooner rather than later. A state of emergency has been declared last week at Santorini and the nearby islands of Ios, Amorgos, and Anapi after a swarm of undersea earthquakes hit this area this month, sometimes felt every few minutes, and that's what's still going on, every few minutes. It's prompted thousands of residents and workers to move to the Greek mainland. Last Monday, a week ago today, they evacuated some 60% of Santorini and other islands as well. There are 40% of the people still staying on Santorini. 40%. Schools on these islands remain closed for a third week, while security services have been set up and rescue teams and backup power generators as part of the precautionary measures. The government of Greece announced today that an emergency port facility was being established on Santorini in case of a wide-scale evacuation, as 40% of the population has still opted to stay on the island. Apachos, who's a professor of geophysics at the University of Thessaloniki, currently serves as a representative of two emergency committees that include scientists and officials from government, the military, and emergency services. He said, Santorini, a volcanic island shaped by catastrophic eruptions in the past, did not face danger from its dormant volcano. But he noted that magma was affecting the tremors. Magma beneath the surface was affecting the tremors. As I told you last Friday, when we last talked about this, we saw them tell us that the islands seemed to have been rising, or the level of the water at the agency was going down. That, in fact, was not the case. The islands have been rising because the magma beneath the surface of these islands has been forcing up the land. GPS devices on the surface of the islands and also satellites in space have been watching these islands move up. Magma chambers beneath these islands have been refilling. That's why we've seen a rise in the land. That's why we've seen these earthquakes. Okay? The root of the cause of the activity is the interaction of tectonic and magmatic processes. Tectonic and magmatic processes. We talked about this again last week. Yes, there are two faults out here in the Aegean Sea. Okay? We have the Asiatic plate to the northeast, and we have the Asian plate to the southwest. Okay? Those plates are again moving. You cannot have magmatic pressures or volcanic anything unless the tectonic plates are moving. You cannot have one without the other. But this does not mean that the molten material of the magma will manage to break through 8 kilometers, or with 8 kilometers is 5 miles of crust, and reach the surface, causing new volcanic eruptions. Well, guess what, guys? Guess what? We are still seeing these volcanoes emit steam beneath the surface and over at Santorini. The volcanoes are emitting steam. That means there's magma right beneath those volcanoes. There's magma right beneath those volcanoes. Why? Because, folks, 6 to 7% of all magma is water. 6 to 7% of all magma is water. You cannot have magma beneath the surface if there's not steam. Yet we have magma beneath the surface and we have volcanic steam coming up. Okay? That's a fact. Okay? Now, how does that happen? Let me just briefly show you a brief explanation of it. As you see my fist right here, the areas between my fingers here, think of them as fissures in the upper part of the volcano, the very summit of the volcano. Okay? What happens? That summit was caused by the last volcanic eruption. That summit is a large hardened volcanic rock. Lava that hardened. Well, when we have magma beneath the surface hammering on the underside of that rock, what happens? Pressure pounding from underneath that summit. It causes cracks in that volcanic rock. It causes fissures in that volcanic rock. At some point, the hammering away of the magma from underneath and the steam that's trying to make its way away from the magma is coming away through those cracks, just like this. Make its way through those cracks, no matter how tiny they are. That superheated steam, the magma is about 2,500 degrees above, 2,500 degrees Fahrenheit. Okay? That superheated steam is making its way through those fissures in that volcanic summit rock. What happens when the water steam is superheated is that steam is enlarging those fissures. It's a simple physics question. The hot steam is enlarging those fissures as well. So the magma is hammering away from the bottom of that summit rock created fissures, and that steam coming through the fissures is also widening those holes. When that happens, at some point in time, that volcanic rock at the summit of that volcano is going to come apart. That's when we have a volcanic eruption. That's when we have a volcanic eruption. Now, they have sent submarines. They've also sent a ship that's been outfitted with scientific equipment to look at the bottom surface of the Aegean Sea there. We have not gotten any information from those studies of the bottom of the Aegean Sea. However, I'm going to tell you, we're probably going to see information from those studies within the next week or so. Okay? It's going to happen. We are going to find out that there are undersea volcanoes down there. Undersea volcanoes. I've seen them on satellite photography. Cones and craters at the bottom of the ocean. I've seen them here in the United States. I've seen them over in Tonga. I've seen them over in Indonesia. I've seen them all over the world. Okay? But the scientists there in Greece and even USGS is saying it doesn't mean that the magma is going to make it up through the summit of the volcano. It's already steaming. It's already steaming. And in order for those earthquakes to happen, what's going to happen there? What's going to happen? As magma is making its way through the rock, it's hammering away at that bedrock. It's hammering away at that bedrock. It forces its way through the bedrock. That's why we're getting earthquakes. That's why we're getting earthquakes there in the Aegean Sea. The magma beneath the surface is hammering away at the bedrock. At some point in time, it's going to make its way to the surface. At some point in time. Do we know when or if? We don't know. Scientists are trying to develop a clearer picture after gathering data from various other multiple sources. They say they are monitoring not only seismographs, but also numerous other systems that track ground deformation, satellites, GPS devices on the ground, gas emissions. Gas emissions. Why are we talking about gas emissions? How many of you have been following me over the years? That steam, the gas emissions, SO2, sulfur dioxide from the magma, CO2 as well, carbon dioxide. So they have the sensors out on the ground monitoring this. Okay? At this moment, the scientist from Greece is saying that he can honestly say that we do not have a definitive forecast. Of course they don't. They don't, because it is a science. It's a science. They don't know how close the magma is to the surface right now. With the monitoring devices from space, from satellite, underground radar systems, yes, they have satellites emit radar signals so they can track the magma or the fluids beneath the surface, and they can track and see how close it is. Okay? But they say right now it is too early to access even the current slightest de-escalation of seismic activity or magmatic activity. They say they've encountered many surprises already. Earthquakes of up to 5.1, and I'm going to revise that to 5.3. Because last week, during the week, we had an earthquake of 5.3 over there in the Aegean Sea. Okay? Earthquakes up to 5.3 in the Aegean Sea. It's happening. It's going to continue to happen. Does anybody have any questions? Okay? We've been talking about this for over a week now, maybe 2 weeks. Okay? But there is There are earthquakes still happening there. Let me get my other device and I'll show you the real earthquake map here. USGS is never going to be honest with us when it comes to the number of earthquakes either here in the United States or around the world. They're just not going to do it. They never have. They honestly never have. Okay? They say there's over 50 earthquakes there. That's a 50 plus there in the Aegean Sea. I can open this up, and all of a sudden it has 3 circles with 10 plus and 3 other earthquakes. There's probably close to 75 earthquakes in and around Santorini. Okay? USGS shows us 3. Really? That's how accurate the USGS wants to be. They don't have a clue. Now, something else that happened earlier today. We got a false notification from Volcano Discovery saying that there was a major earthquake in Italy. That turned out not to be the case. There was no major earthquake in Italy today. They said, Volcano Discovery said that there had been a 9.0 major earthquake in Italy. It didn't happen. It did not happen. However, we have over 50 earthquakes. 50 earthquakes here. Campi Flegrei. Campi Flegrei. This is the 1.6 tremor here. 1.6 tremor. Now, while you see this, guess what? What do we have right there? What is that? That's a volcano. This is the volcano right here. And look at these other craters here. This is a major volcanic area near Campi Flegrei. Major area, huh? Houses all over the place. Houses all over the place, guys. This is no joke. No joke at all. I'm going over here to show you all these earthquakes here. Yes, I believe there's magma beneath the surface here. I believe there is magma beneath the surface. Now, are we going to have a volcano eruption there? At some point in time, we do. I believe that. It's going to happen. Heather says over 500 earthquakes today. Not surprising. Not surprising at all. Now, I want to preface this. Okay? I don't want to get ahead of myself either. But we've seen a lot of stuff happen, haven't we, over the past almost 6 years that we've been together here. I believe we're going to have a magmatic eruption over here at Campi Flegrei in Italy. Okay? Those earthquakes are not tectonic there. These earthquakes are not tectonic. There's magma here beneath the surface. Okay? Guaranteed. Guaranteed. When we see volcanic craters like this, or other craters like that, all throughout this area, there's going to be a major event happen. There's going to be a major event happen. Look at these other craters here. All over there. It's likely to happen, isn't it? Now, has anybody been hurt by these earthquakes so far? No. There have been no people hurt by these earthquakes yet. They haven't been big enough. They haven't been big enough. The 5.0 earthquakes that happened over around Santorini over in the Aegean Sea, we have at least one 5.0 large earthquake there every day. At least one 5.0 earthquake there every day. At Camp Flegrave, they have not had but just one. Only one 5.0, and it's been a while since they had that. Now, while we're talking about volcanoes, when a volcano erupts, we've seen it in the past, what I believe we're going to see in the future. When a volcano erupts, we're going to probably see at least a 5.0, 5.5 earthquake. When a volcano erupts, I believe we're going to see a 5.0 to a 5.5 large earthquake. It's happened in the past. It happened last time Mount St. Helens erupted. It happened when that volcano over in Kamchatka Peninsula erupted. Actually, not just one, but 3 volcanoes over there that erupted. But every time we've had a large 5.0 earthquake happen when those volcanoes erupt. It's going to happen again. It's going to happen again. No matter what USGS says, these earthquakes are serious. These large earthquakes are serious. Okay? What they've shown here around Santorini is BS. Nothing but BS. When we show probably 70 earthquakes there on the other maps, and USGS only shows 3, there's a problem. There's a real problem. Look over here at mainland Greece. There's 18 earthquakes here today in mainland Greece. Why are they not showing those as well? Unreal. Why are they not showing any earthquakes over here in Italy? Why not? Why not? Right over here. Right over in this area here. Look at these areas here. I just got through showing you where this area here around Campi Flegrei is here. I showed you this crater. And yet USGS doesn't show anything. Nothing. Why not? Why not? Shirley is saying here in the chat, she's not a scientist, but her vision quest motivated her to move away from Mount St. Helens. 23 years on the slopes. Now she's in the North Washington area now. Powder kegs are at our door. Yes, you're right. Powder kegs are at your door. Sooner or later it's going to happen. Over here in Italy today, there are 50 plus earthquakes here in Italy. I'm more willing to say close to 75 earthquakes here in Italy. And yet USGS not showing one of them. Nothing. Heck, they're not showing any other earthquakes except over in Santorini in Europe. Nothing. Nothing. This earthquake here over in eastern Turkey. Why are they showing this? Okay? There's about 24 earthquakes here in eastern Turkey. Okay? Last time we had a major earthquake here, let's guess when. February 3rd, 2023. February 23rd, 2023, there was a 9.0, 10.0 earthquake here. Right here. Today we have like 16 or 17 earthquakes here today. USGS showing us one, a 4.3 moderate earthquake here. And yes, they're calling these light earthquakes. They're not light at all. 4.5 earthquakes can do damage, a lot of damage. At least anywhere between 14 and 17 earthquakes here in eastern Turkey. Those are aftershocks of a major earthquake, a 9.0, 10.0 earthquake hitting here 2 years ago. 2 years ago. Yet they show only one earthquake here. Fascinating. But that earthquake there in eastern Turkey, and this one over here in southern Spain here. And actually, this is not southern Spain, this is Portugal. I should have said Portugal in the beginning. This is over the coast near Lisbon, Portugal. This is a 4.8, good-sized, upper 4.8 moderate earthquake here. It's at the coastline, which means Lisbon shook today. Lisbon shook today. You cannot have an earthquake like this without some shaking. If this was out in the ocean, I would say the Atlantic Ocean waters absorbed the shock waves of this quake. It didn't happen. This is over the coastline of Portugal. And again, this is not the only earthquake to hit Portugal or even Spain today. They're just not talking about it. They're not showing any earthquakes in France, Germany, Switzerland, Austria. Nothing. There are earthquakes here. There are earthquakes here. Now I'm going to show you a few more earthquakes here. I want to go over here. Okay? This is Maine. This is Maine, just south of the Canadian border. This is a 2.5 minor earthquake here. Northwest of Millinocket, Maine. Okay? A 2.5 minor earthquake there. I'm going to go over here to the United States just briefly. Right here. This is Kansas. Yes, Kansas. A 2.7 earthquake here. Over here in the south. Ackerley, Texas. This is a 1.1 tremor here. 1.1 tremor. Earlier last year we had a 5.0 earthquake here. And you can see a small cache of earthquakes here today. We go further to the southwest here. Barstow, Texas. A 2.0 minor earthquake here. Guys, this whole area is oil and gas. Oil and gas. Now USGS has altered the maps where we can't see the oil and gas wells or plots here on the map. I'm hoping by the time they give us the maps back, they say they're altering the maps right now. USGS is working on the improvements to the map backgrounds, and functionality on the maps is currently limited. I'm hoping that we'll at least get back to some kind of similarity with the other satellite map we had before. But that satellite map, you can see the oil and gas platforms here. This earthquake, Barstow, Texas, a 2.0 minor earthquake. Over here, Mentone, Texas. This is a 2.4. This is Toya, Texas, a 2.1. Both minor earthquakes. Go further west, 1.9, 2.0. Whenever we see a 1.9, we consider the source. USGS downgrades the earthquakes to the nearest 0.9. Let's say 1.9, it's actually at least a 2.0, maybe even larger than that. But at least a minor earthquake. We go further to the west here. This is a 2.0 earthquake here. Right next to it, another 2.0 earthquake here. This is another 2.0 earthquake here. Right next to this is a 1.6 tremor. This is a 1.9 here again. This is a 1.4 tremor. And this is a 1.6. Again, these are oil and gas fields here. This whole area here is oil and gas platforms all throughout Texas. Okay? In Southern California, we're not going to spend a lot of time over here, but you can see what's going on here in Southern California. Okay? East San Diego County right here. We're having earthquakes. Down here, just north of the border here, in North San Diego, or excuse me, we're here in southeastern San Diego County here. I'm going to have to enlarge the map here to show you this. They say this is Ocotillo, California. This, I believe, is not Ocotillo. This is not Ocotillo. This is over in the Chocolate Mountains between San Diego County and Imperial County, California. Over here, just east of there, this is the Imperial Valley of California, Brawley, California. This is the 1.7 tremor in Brawley, California. Further east, this is near Holtville. This is actually northeast of Holtville. This is a 1.5 tremor over here in the desert of Imperial Valley. We go over here to the coastline of San Diego County. Right here. Folks, this is San Diego Harbor. San Diego Harbor. Just off the coast of Imperial Beach. Just off the coast of Imperial Beach here in southern San Diego Harbor. This is a 1.0 tremor here. A 1.0 tremor. Guess what, guys? This is the Rose Canyon Fault. The Rose Canyon Fault comes out of Newport Beach, California, further to the north here. Okay. Up here near Huntington, Newport Beach area here, Rose Canyon Fault hooks up with the Newport Inglewood here, goes out to sea here. The Rose Canyon Fault follows the coastline here into San Diego, California. Okay. It enters San Diego, California, approximately right here. Right here. The Rose Canyon Fault enters San Diego County right here near Encinitas. Then it goes inland again, following the coastline here, actually just east of Interstate 5 here, and follows the coastline all the way down into San Diego City. All the way into San Diego City. Through La Jolla here, all the way down here. Through Mission Bay, into downtown San Diego, and out into the harbor. Out into San Diego Harbor. The Rose Canyon Fault hit here with a 1.0 earthquake here today. South Harbor of San Diego. Okay? Unreal. Look at these earthquakes up here. Okay? This is San Bernardino. A 1.0 tremor. But guess what? It's not the only one. When they say there's a 1.0 tremor in San Bernardino, I can bet you, if I pulled up the seismograph, we would find a lot more than just 1.0 tremor. Off the coast of Los Angeles today, okay, Malibu Beach, a 2.7 earthquake here. Okay, here, off the coast of El Segundo, California. This is a 1.3 tremor here. But again, they're not showing us all the earthquakes here at all. There's over 300 earthquakes in San Diego County, or actually not San Diego County, but San Diego and the Imperial Valley, and probably over 300 earthquakes here in Los Angeles. Guaranteed, every day. Every day. Possibly tomorrow we can look at the earthquakes in Southern California. Okay, let's go up the coastline here. I did this purposely. Right here. This earthquake is a 2.8 earthquake off the coast of Northern California. It's on the San Andreas Fault here. The San Andreas Fault. As I've explained before, the San Andreas Fault starts up here and goes all the way through California, down along the coast of southern Mexico, and it lets off down there. Okay? This is a San Andreas Fault earthquake, 2.8 off the coast of Petrolia, California. Further west here, folks, this is on the Gorda Escarpment. This is a 2.8 earthquake here on the Gorda Escarpment. This is the southern end of the Cascadia subduction zone. The southern area, southern region of the Cascadia subduction zone. This earthquake fault you see running along the coastline of Northern California, Oregon, and Washington. This is the Cascadia subduction zone right here. The Cascadia subduction zone right here. Okay? Okay? This Cascadia subduction zone goes all the way up here to Queen Charlotte Island up here. They call this Haida Gwaii. Okay? This other earthquake fault here is the Juan de Fuca fault. Whenever you see this zigzag pattern of a fault, this is the Juan de Fuca fault just west of the Cascadia subduction zone. Folks, I've said this before and I'll say it again. This location right here is where we're going to see the Cascadia megathrust earthquake, the 9.0, 10.0 earthquake that is going to hit here. When is it going to hit? The scientists are saying 25 to 50 years. I'm saying 5. I'm saying 5. There's significant evidence judged by the earthquakes that are hitting here already. Yes, there are earthquakes that are hitting here that they're not talking about. Why? Because they do not want to admit exactly what is going on. Okay? They're not showing anything here. Good question is why? Why? Okay? Up here, Alaska. Look at the earthquakes here. The majority of earthquakes are down here in the southern part of Alaska. Southern part of Alaska. See where Anchorage is right there? See where Anchorage is? Right here. McKenzie, Alaska. Point McKenzie. It's a 2.0 earthquake. 2.0 earthquake. Okay? Up here, Denali National Park. This is a 2.2 earthquake here in Denali National Park. Fascinating, huh? This is over on the northeastern side of the great big huge mountain, Mount McKinley. Mount McKinley. The southeast or the northeast side of Mount McKinley. Right next to it is a 1.4. Now they are not giving exact directions here of where this earthquake is. Exact locations, not directions, exact locations. They're lying about the locations. They're not even mentioning Denali National Park. Fascinating, huh? But you can see earthquakes in this area. Now I'm going to go down here, okay? We see some earthquakes up here. These are microquakes. These are microquakes. This is just north of Mount Redoubt. Just north of Mount Redoubt. This is a 0.8 microquake here. This is a 2.0 minor earthquake here. We go from microquake to tremors to minor earthquakes. A 2.0 minor earthquake right here. This is just north of Mount Redoubt. Mount Redoubt is right here. That is Mount Redoubt. And Mount Redoubt is steaming. Mount Redoubt is steaming. Okay? Earthquakes down here. Okay? Guess what? This is another volcano. Okay? This is a 2.1 earthquake here. This is a 1.6 tremor. On the north side of that volcano is a 1.8 here. Okay? Old Ililama volcano. Old Ililama volcano. And yet they do not want to admit what's going on. They don't want to admit what's going on. When you see earthquakes near volcanoes, you need to say, guess what? We have magma there. We have magma. Rebecca, I hope you go lay down and get some rest. She also has to put down her grandbaby. So you guys have a good night. Becky, we love you. We appreciate you and your family. Okay? All of us appreciate what you do for us. Okay? But you can see the earthquakes here in Alaska, guys. Today, there are no earthquakes up here in the Arctic Circle of Alaska. There's no earthquakes right here in the Arctic Circle of Alaska. However, let's go farther north. Barrow, Alaska. Here's a 3.8 earthquake, 136 kilometers northwest of Barrow, Alaska. Okay? Out off the northwestern shore of Alaska. Okay? The water absorbed here, the water from this around in the sea here absorbed the shock waves of this quake. And yet this is just a small quake. Nobody probably would have felt this if it was over on land. They may have felt this, but nobody felt this earthquake where it's at. Okay, 3.0, 3.8. You're going to feel these earthquakes. Okay, so that's Alaska. We come down here. This is in the Kuril Islands, just north of Hokkaido, Japan. This is a 4.6 water earthquake here. 4.6 water earthquake in the Kuril Islands here, north of Hokkaido, Japan. Now, they're still not showing all the earthquakes here in Japan. There are earthquakes here. This earthquake just off the southeast coast of Japan here, a 4.3 earthquake here. They say this is 281 kilometers southeast of Kushimoto, Japan. There are several other earthquakes here as well. Why are they not showing them? Inquiry minds want to know. Over here in the Izu, no, this isn't the Izu Islands. This is, I can't remember what islands these are, south of Japan here. But this is one of the islands. This is out in the ocean here, near the Sea of Japan here. Not Sea of Japan, I'm sorry. Southeast China Sea here. This is a 5.0 earthquake here. A 5.0 earthquake here. Okay? We go down here. North of Luzon, Philippines. We have another 4.7 earthquake here. Off the north coast of Luzon, Philippines. Again, they're not showing us all the earthquakes here either. There are 3 or 4 other earthquakes here in the Philippines that they're not showing us. We go over here to the eastern side of Indonesia, Tual, Indonesia. A 4.7 earthquake here. Further west here, this is Ambon, Indonesia. 4.2 earthquake here. Over here east of Java, we have a 4.2 earthquake here. Now there are more earthquakes here. There are about 18 earthquakes here in Indonesia today. They're hardly showing anything, which is a tragedy. It's a tragedy. They're not showing them. More earthquakes here in Papua New Guinea. They're not showing these either. We go over here. Okay? There are more earthquakes in this area, but they're not showing them. This is near Luvuka, actually not near, but it's off the coast of Luvuka, Fiji, out in the waters of the South Pacific. This is 216 kilometers east-northeast of Luvuka, Fiji, a 4.6 earthquake. There are earthquakes in Tonga. There's earthquakes down here in New Zealand that they're not showing us. About 26 earthquakes here in New Zealand. What a shame. What a crying shame this is. Go over here to South America. Now this is a real tragedy. There are about 28 earthquakes here in South America along the coast, west coast of South America here. This is down in central Chile. This is a 4.4 moderate earthquake here. There are earthquakes between this earthquake and up here to the north of Chile. This is southern Peru. Putina, Peru. Another 4.7 earthquake here. Just here, along the coastline here. 5.4 large earthquake here. 5.4 large earthquake here along the coastline of South San Juan, Peru. Large 5.4 earthquake here. There's going to be some damage here as a result of that quake. We go north. Again, they're not showing any other earthquakes here in Peru. There are earthquakes all over here. Earthquakes over here in Ecuador. They're not showing anything there either. Up here to the north, Bogota, Colombia. A 4.6 earthquake here, but they're still not showing all the earthquakes here in Colombia. All the way over here in Venezuela, a 4.5 earthquake here. Okay? Now they are showing some earthquakes over here in Central America. They say this is 20 kilometers south-southeast of Puerto San Jose, Guatemala. They say south-southeast. No, it's south-southwest. They can't get their directions right here. Locations for USGS fry me. They fry me every time I see them. This is south-southwest of San Jose, Guatemala. South-southeast would be out here in the Caribbean. Okay? Before I go east, I want to show you this. This is southern Mexico. They're showing us one earthquake here. There are 28 earthquakes between Puerto Vallarta over here, that's Puerto Vallarta here, all the way down here where they're showing this earthquake here in southern Mexico. Okay, a 4.7 earthquake here. Bunch of earthquakes. I think it was 24 to 28 earlier when I saw it. Incredible. But again, they're not going to talk to us about it. Now, over here in the Caribbean, okay, this is another 4.0 moderate earthquake, an aftershock. An aftershock again after an 8.0 hit here almost 2 weeks ago. An 8.0 earthquake hit here almost 2 weeks ago. This 4.0 is an aftershock of that quake. It's in the exact same location as the 8.0. Does anybody have any questions about this? Has anyone, Charlene is asking, has anyone been to the bottom of the Mariana Trench? They've sent these minor submarines, these small observation submarines down there. But because of the water pressures, they can't send men down there. They've been robotic, what should I say, robotic unmanned submarine craft down there, because the water pressures there would kill anybody else. I think the only thing that they've ever put down is a robotic submarine craft. Okay. You know, Ronna is saying Mexico City is sinking. Some buildings look tilted. You're right. It is. It is. If you ever have seen anything, any pictures of Mexico City is sitting on a old city where Mexico City presently is. An Aztec city there. As they go over there with archaeological equipment and they try to put up new buildings or do any digging at all, they find other artifacts showing a major city beneath Mexico City today. That's why it's sinking. That's why it's sinking. There's a huge story about that. Huge story about that. One other place I want to go to is Puerto Rico and the U.S. Virgin Islands. Just on the north side of Puerto Rico here, northwestern Puerto Rico, this is a minor 2.7 earthquake here. Down here is southwestern Puerto Rico. This is where it gets interesting. Okay? This is a 2.5 earthquake southwest of Indios, Puerto Rico. These three earthquakes that you see here are aftershocks. They're aftershocks of two 8.0 and 8.4 earthquakes that hit here in 2019, 5 years ago. Man-made earthquakes, by the way. We talked about that in previous episodes of this program. Two man-made 8.0 and 8.4 earthquakes hit December 26th and December 28th, 2019. Today we're still having aftershocks of that quake. This is an aftershock here, 2.5. This is a 2.3 here, right here. This is a 2.4. This is in Magas Arriba, Puerto Rico. This earthquake is in Magas Arriba, Puerto Rico. Okay? Huge. Huge. Okay? One other one here. Over here, north of U.S. British Virgin Islands. Actually, they say this is northeast of Culebra, Puerto Rico. This is a 3.4 earthquake, 60 kilometers north of Culebra, Puerto Rico. Culebra, Puerto Rico, Culebra is a basically unoccupied island that is more used by people that sail past it. They use the beaches of Culebra. That's about it. Nobody lives there. Nobody lives in Culebra, Puerto Rico. But that, we've taken you around the world now. We've taken you a little bit around the world here. Showed you what's really going on here. Does anybody have any questions for me? Anybody have any questions about anything? Charlene says, Ron, we know more now other deeper trenches than the Mariana. What effect does the gravitational pull of the plates have on the integrity of this trench? Rubber band? Charlene, given the education I have on geology and knowing what I know now about earthquakes and trenches and everything else that I studied over the years, yes, I would have to say that it would act like a rubber band. The Mariana Trench is part of a tectonic plate on either side of the trench. On either side of the trench. It's the edge of the plate. That's why it's here. Every time we have an earthquake, it's another stretching of that rubber band. Demon Catman says earthquake is the effect people are affected by. Right. Thanks for that, Demon Catman. You're absolutely right. Dina, be safe. We love you. Have a good night. Charlene's asking, is the trench widening? I believe it is. The last time I heard something, I believe it was that the trench is indeed widening. Pulling apart. The plate's pulling apart there. Okay. Iceland. Renee Steffi's asking about Iceland. Let's put up the USGS map one more time here. Pull down our map banner here. Let's go over here to the USGS map. Take down my bright smiling face here. Okay. Over here you see the Atlantic Ocean. You see the Atlantic Ocean here. Presently, they are not showing any earthquakes here in the Atlantic Ocean, but there are. I believe we have one 4.5 earthquake in the north central part of the Atlantic plate here. Okay, up here in Iceland. Let's go up here. This is Iceland. I believe the reason Renee was asking about it is because we are expecting, okay? Now, I have a friend of mine that works for the University of Idaho. His name was Professor Willis. He has a YouTube channel here. And he's been following what's been going on here over the Reykjanes Peninsula here. We have had more earthquakes here in this area. We've had more earthquakes here in this area. Now, USBS is still not showing Grindavik here. Grindavik is right here. This port area here is Grindavik. Just north of Grindavik here, northwest of Grindavik, we've had volcanic eruptions. All the way down this Reykjanes Peninsula here, we've had volcanic eruptions. Volcanic eruptions started way down here in the southern end of the Reykjanes Peninsula, right here. There's a volcano there. And as a result, magma has continued to push northbound right up the center of this Reykjanes Peninsula. But what you need to know is right up the center of this Reykjanes Peninsula is the North Mid-Atlantic Ridge. The North Mid-Atlantic Ridge. An earthquake fault. An earthquake fault. All the way up here, guys. All the way up here. Now, we get up here past Grindavik. There's Grindavik right there. Okay? Up here, we've continued having earthquakes here, and we've had some volcanic eruptions. Now, the volcanic eruptions have moved north. I believe what has happened, what we've been seeing, is the magma pushing north. Why is the magma pushing north? The magma the earthquakes that we've seen, we believe are magmatic earthquakes. As I said over in Santorini, the magma is pushing through the bedrock, causing earth fracturing, rock fracturing. That's what's going on. Now, we are expecting another volcanic eruption here, probably within the next 2 weeks here in the Reykjanes Peninsula of Iceland. And I believe it's going to be up right in this area right here. Okay? Almost guarantee it. Now, Demon Catman is also saying that the Atlantic plate is separating. Exactly right. The Atlantic plate is expanding. It's expanding from the center outward, out to the west and to the east. The Mid-Atlantic fault you see here is expanding. And as you can see here, the Mid-Atlantic fault cuts through Iceland like this. At some point in time, Iceland will be two separate islands here. There'll be two separate islands here. Okay? But also, it's pushing Greenland in a westerly, southwesterly direction. It's pushing North America in a southwesterly direction, including Canada, the United States, and northern Mexico. That's why we're having earthquakes here. Also, on the eastern side of the Mid-Atlantic Fault, it's pushing Africa and Europe in an easterly direction here. That's one of the reasons we're having earthquakes here. But we are having earthquakes up here in Iceland because we have magma that is pushing its way through bedrock, causing rock fracturing, which is earth movement. That's what's happening. I appreciate Renee for telling us about that. Okay? That's what's happening. Michael Curry's here. Thank you for being here, buddy. We appreciate it. 2 thumbs up. Thank you. Thank you for that, Mike. I appreciate you. Any other questions, guys? Charlene says Iceland is most beautiful in pictures. I've also seen pictures as well. I agree. Greenavik, that small town over in the Reykjanes Peninsula, is absolutely gorgeous. Absolutely gorgeous. It's a fishing village. It's a fishing village. Charlene's saying Iceland most beautiful in pictures. They personally have never been. Yet, when one ponders it, hell yes, under your feet. Lava pushing north, opening up the Grandes crevices yet to see their lands, yes. Yeah, lava's moving. Magma's moving underground, lava's moving up above as well. I believe we're going to have another volcanic eruption over in the Reykjanes Peninsula, going into mainland Iceland. Great question. Appreciate that. Michael McCurry says he drove into New Jersey last night from Florida, 17 hours. Holy crap. I hate the drives like that. I've done it. I've done it. Unreal. Ruthie's asking about Ethiopia quakes. By the way, Ruthie, I don't know how, but YouTube had put you off the chat and I brought you back. So, Ruthie, you're back. We're glad to see you here. Ethiopia quakes. Yes, there are earthquakes in Ethiopia, but again, USGS is not showing anything here. USGS is not showing anything. Yes, there's earthquakes over here in Ethiopia, right in there. Right along this ridge here. See where it says Addis Ababa? That huge earthquake rift zone right there. That's where the earthquakes are hitting. Any other questions? That was good. That was good. Thank you. Appreciate you. Now, folks, I love you. You guys are the reason I'm here. I spend a lot of time contemplating what I'm going to talk about, contemplating what I'm thinking and what's going on around our world. That's why we're here. Now, we've gone through a lot here in our world, around our world and our country, the U.S.